Guys, this is Lindsay with Garage Door Reviews. Today we are going to talk about the Vulcan Scull rower. Now, even if you aren't like a cardio queen, there is still a ton of benefit to adding in a rowing piece or a treadmill piece, whatever type of conditioning you're looking for. I mean, there is a ton of value to it. So let's say you're primarily lifting weights. I mean, aren't we all? Like, that's always the goal. But because of health reasons, because we like to listen to health professionals, we decide we have to add in some zone 2 or maybe some interval pieces along the way. I think that the Scull rower is a great option. Now, the question that I kept asking myself as I was reading about this, as I was testing it, was, does this compete with our beloved, the gold standard, the queen in my eyes, the Concept 2 RowErg? And honestly, I don't know. We are going to get into the specifics of it, but make sure you are subscribed to our channel. If you want to go ahead and purchase this Vulcan Scull rower, we have placed a link below the like button, making it super easy for you to use that link. And lastly, this was sent to us by the company. But as you'll see, my review isn't all like sunshine and rainbows and roses. Like, there are some things that I actually don't like about this, and we are going to talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about the space of this. Now, if you're familiar with the Concept 2, like, this is pretty much an exact replica in terms of space. It is 1 inch longer, it is 1 inch wider, but overall, like, I mean, it's exactly the same. The seat height is actually 1 inch higher than the Concept 2, but if you're familiar with the Concept 2, I mean, you are going to be familiar with the space that the Scull offers. It's about 94 inches in length and about 25 inches in width, so keep that in mind. If you are planning your home gym, if you are looking for a rower, that is the space requirements that you're going to need for that. Now, a big difference between the Concept 2 and the Scull rower is the weight and the weight capacity. This is primarily constructed of steel, which obviously is a lot heavier than the construction of the Concept 2 that uses aluminum. In the box, this weighs 101 pounds. Like, out of the box, the Concept 2 weighs 57 pounds. And I can tell you there is a massive difference between rolling around the Scull rower and then rolling around the Concept 2. I mean, it's just so much lighter. It's so much easier to roll around the Concept 2. Now, having said that, I mean, we roll around treadmills all day long that are like 200 plus pounds. So really, this still is relatively easy. But if you are looking for a super lightweight rower, I mean, this is, again, 101 pounds in the box. Now, to go along with that, this only has a weight capacity of 350 pounds. So again, when we compare that to the Concept 2 weight capacity of 500 pounds, there is a lot to be desired here. Let's look at like the Aberon with a weight capacity of 507 pounds or the Hydrowave with a weight capacity of 375 pounds. It does seem like quality rowers are really kind of pushing that weight capacity, allowing more people to be able to use it. Now, that's not to say that this, with its weight capacity of 350 pounds, isn't quality. I mean, that's something you're going to have to dig into, but it does just make me kind of question the longevity of this machine. So another thing that I noticed when I was comparing, I did a 500 meter row on the Concept 2 as well as on the Scull rower. My Scull rower pace was about 5 to 10 seconds faster than on the Concept 2. Now, obviously, fatigue plays into that, how I'm feeling that day. I mean, there are a ton of factors, but I was curious if anybody else had that same experience. Turns out a lot of people do. Now, there could be a couple of reasons. Again, like fatigue, different day, you ate something different. Another thing that we should consider is the shock cord. Initially, it is a lot tighter on the Scull rower. I do think it'll kind of give over time, but for right now, it's very taut. It almost like pulls you forward on your release of the movement. So overall, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I would keep in mind that the Scull rower might not be absolutely accurate. If you are somebody who's competing in like a CrossFit competition and you are training on the Scull rower and you're going for a certain time, I would just keep that in mind. Okay, so let's look at the Footholds. Now, this is actually someplace that I think the Scull rower almost outdoes the Concept 2. I actually really like the foot placements and what they are made of on the Scull rower. They are heavy duty, they are made of steel, and they are just like solid. The other part about it is they have a wider base. So especially if you are taller, if you have longer legs, this is something you're gonna really appreciate. The Concept 2 does have a more narrow foot width. With the Scull rower, it does have, again, that wider stance, very similar to what you'll find in like the Zebex Air Rower. In terms of the seat padding, again, I actually like the seat padding on the Vulcan. However, one thing to keep in mind is you have the ability to replace all of your parts on the Concept 2. So a common complaint with the Concept 2 is that the seat gets harder over time. With the Scull rower, you don't have that ability. I can't necessarily speak to the longevity of the seat on this rower, but like my initial thoughts, the times that I have used it, I actually preferred it over the Concept 2. Okay, so as we look at the handlebar, my initial thoughts were that it was super similar to what we find on the Concept 2, but as I got to using it, I found that it is a lot different. For one, the texture on it is a little bit different. Now, one thing I did like about this, okay, I did not like the texture on it, but one thing I did like about it is actually thinner in diameter. So when you're doing those long rowing sessions and your grip starts to fatigue, I actually prefer to have a smaller diameter versus something on the Concept 2. Now, one thing I didn't like about this is the way that it was set up. I don't think it is as ergonomically friendly as what we find on the Concept 2. That might just be a personal preference, but overall, there's things I liked about it. There was things I didn't like as much. Overall, kind of a wash when we compare the two side by side. On this, you are going to find a flywheel just like you would on the Concept 2, and it works in the exact same way. So you have a damper setting on that flywheel, and that flywheel pulls through air. So if you have your damper setting at 1, it's going to pull in very little to no air, creating very little resistance. If you have that damper setting on 10, it's going to pull in a lot of air or a lot of resistance, make you pull and drive a lot harder in order to get those higher numbers. Overall, I do think it was a little bit more noisy than the Concept 2, but like we didn't measure this by decibels. Like, I don't know. Like, that is just my initial thoughts on it. When we look at the monorail, they're very similar to each other. There's really nothing stand out about one or the other, but I do think as I was pulling, as I was driving, as I was doing that rowing motion, it was super smooth, super consistent throughout. Now, my biggest kind of call out to this, the thing that I just really didn't like is the monitor itself. I don't think it's as intuitive as the Concept 2. I think it's harder to navigate. It does show things like distance, time, calories, strokes per minute. It also offers things like a game or target distance or target time, intervals. So you have like 10 to 20, 20 to 10, or 10-10. And then throughout that, you can go ahead and set your intervals to cycles all the way up to 99. So if you are a crazy person and want to do a 20-10 interval at 99 cycles, go right ahead and let me know how it goes. Again, I think this monitor leaves something to be desired. I don't think it's as good. Now, this is the V1 monitor. On their website, you can go ahead and pay an extra $60 for their V2 monitor. But as I was reading through the details, it didn't seem like there was like a ton more offerings with the V2 versus the V1. So overall, I'd probably just stick with the V1 monitor. The Vulcan is priced at $850. Now, that is cheaper than the Concept 2. However, not by much. And keep in mind with the Concept 2 that all of the parts on the Concept 2 are replaceable. If your shock guard goes out, if your foot pedals go out, if your PM5 goes out, all of those are replaceable, whereas we don't find that with the Vulcan. Just for like longevity's sake, I'd almost go with the Vulcan based on that, because the Concept 2s last you so long. And if anything does break on it, you can replace it, whereas you can't do that with the Vulcan. Okay, in terms of a warranty, on the frame, you have a lifetime warranty. On any sort of hard moving parts like foot pedals or like the handlebar, you have a 2-year warranty. And then you have a 90-day warranty on soft parts, so like your foot straps or things of that nature. Overall, I was actually really impressed with this, but I would still go with the Concept 2. I think that it is just still better. And a couple of reasons I think it's better. All of their parts are replaceable. And the PM5 just outdoes this basic monitor. I mean, it's backlit, it's not intuitive. I just really don't like it. However, if the monitor gets improved and let's say that parts become replaceable, I do think now that we have a real battle on our hands. So I don't know. For me, I'm still choosing the Concept 2, but I would love to know your thoughts on this Vulcan Scull rower. Have you used it? Have you used the Concept 2? How do you think they compare to each other? Let us know in the comments. This has been Lindsay with Garage Gym Reviews. Peace.